Okay, so I'm retrying this a second time. I don't know what was going on in the video before, but I guess I'll wait for a few minutes until people start signing back on. What's going on here? This little hairpiece. Okay. Let me just take a sip of water. Okay, cool. So people are signing back on here. Awesome. So let's continue with what I was saying before in the previous video until I started freezing. So we got our place where we're writing our sleep plan. We got our goals, our realistic goals. Then we have our breakdown of our sleep trifecta. So the right amount of sleep, so we understand the quantity. At the right time, we spoke about that. And then in the right place, which is your third piece. Can't bend my fingers. So the third piece is in the right place. That means having a set standard place where your little one sleeps. Now I kind of want to talk a little deeper into that, dive a little deeper into it. So I know that I talk a lot about blackout curtains, white noise machine, the staples of sleep, right? Now, those are not there to create another association. Those two pieces are really included in maximizing the capacity for sleep. That's really what blackout curtains and a white noise machine are for. Now, having the right place for your child to sleep is super important because you want to create a foundation for them in where they know this is my sleeping space. It's kind of like yourself. You don't just hang out in your living room, fall asleep, and sleep there for the entire night. You have your bed. Same thing for a child. They should have their own sleeping space constantly. It can be a pack and play at a certain point. It can be their crib at a certain point. If you're co-sleeping and you're doing it safely, that can be their sleeping space. As long as it's healthy and it's conducive to sleep and it's safe, more power to you. But you want to make sure that it's consistent every night. You don't want to create different environments. So you don't want them to fall asleep, like in the living room one time. You don't want them to fall asleep somewhere else, like, in your bed, if that's not where you want them to initially sleep. So having that set is one of your main things. And I'm going to give you a secret right now, okay? So bedtime always fluctuates. It always changes. Bedtime never stays the same. Now you probably have like this little aha moment or, that's very intriguing. Now the reason for that is because remember how in the video before, I had to shut her off, I was talking about specific times during the day that your body produces melatonin, which is your sleep hormone, right? Keep that. Stay with me. Now, when your body produces melatonin during these specific times, for certain kids, if their naps are not long enough, as such an hour minimum, if it's shorter than that time frame, what happens is then you start to build into sleep debt. And if you keep your naps at specific times, right, but they become short, and you keep bedtime late, you have this huge gap. So you have a lot of sleep pressure that has built up. And you really don't want that to happen. So bedtime always has to fluctuate, and having an early bedtime is really your savior to eliminating night wakings. Now, how early, you might be asking? It all depends on how old your child is and how the naps were. Because if one nap was really shitty and the other two was pretty good, you wouldn't really need to bump up bedtime that significantly. But if naps were completely skipped, then yeah, bedtime will be super duper early. The earliest that I've ever had it for a client was 4:30, 4:45 for the night. Now, that happened because they skipped all of their naps And that has been happening for like a couple of days. So once we bumped it up to that time, again, I don't want you to think that around 4, like 4:30 is an appropriate bedtime for, let's say, like a 5-year-old, because it's not. It depends, again, on the age, but that's the earliest that I've had a child go into it, and they slept the entire night because they were making up for the loss of sleep that they didn't receive during the day. Naps have significant values. They're not just there for us to chill out and relax as parents and give us some wind down time. They're there specifically for a purpose. So the first nap, the day nap, is mental restoration. It's mental restorative values. Second nap is physical restoration. And if your child has a third nap, there's no real significant value scientifically for it. It's mainly just a bridge to hold them over until bedtime. So again, the secret that I wanted to give you is the fact that bedtime always changes. It never stays the same unless your naps are perfect. So when you start sleep training, that's not the case. When you start sleep training, things are always shifting and you really have to stay on top of it. That's where your sleep plan really comes into play, for you to know what you're going to do, when you're going to change things, how you're going to shift them. And you have it written in front of you that you can just open it up and say, oh, okay, so this is what we're going to do on day 5 or whatever day it is. This is how many hours Joey needs to sleep. These are the times that I'm going to put him down. So nap 1 is at this time, and this is how I'm going to stay consistent. You need to stay consistent for at least 2 weeks when you start sleep training. Anything less than that, you're really not going to see much of a significant change. So I always recommend to do at least 2 weeks of you staying consistent with a specific sleep plan that you have put into place. Now, the last part, and you're probably thinking of, okay, Carolina, you've mentioned your lovely sleep trifecta, and you mentioned the right amount of sleep at the right time and then in the right place, but what about the sleep methods, such as extinction, modified extinction, the controversial one, cry it out, Ferber, chair method, sleep lady shuffle, you got the pick up put down, you have the sleep wave, I can go on and on and on. And most of these are just 4 simple methods. They just have lots of different names to them, and they're marketed really nicely. So the main thing is when you're using a method, and I was actually on a client call today with a lovely family that we're going to start working together on the weekend. And this was what I told them, is the fact that you most likely have used a lot of different approaches that either someone has mentioned to you, either at the grocery store, your mom, grandma, your friends, mommy forums. Those are big. And you have tried it. And then you probably said, you know what? This doesn't work. I don't know what's going on. They swore that it helped, and my baby is vomiting now. They're screaming on top of their lungs. They're flipping out. I can't do this. I can't handle this. I don't know what's going on. And then you give up. And then you go back to how things used to be, which were not that good to begin with, because then you wouldn't have started sleep training in the first place. So what I want to tell you is, when you're choosing a method, they all work. They all work wonderfully. The key here is not choosing one randomly. It's choosing one that matches your personality and matches your child's personality. And also make sure that you feel confident in whatever method you're going to be using, that you can stick with it. Because that's the most important factor, is staying consistent. Once you have a sleep plan and it's golden and you know how you're going to achieve your goals, you really need to stay consistent, at least a 2-week range. If you really are hesitant and you're like, you know what, I really need to shift, something's not working, give it a minimum of at least the 5 days. 2 weeks is ideal, but if you really want to at least try it and see how it will go, you need to stay at least 5 days with it, because that's how long it can take to start to change into a new behavior. Now, last part before I let you guys go is that when you start sleep training, and you already have everything set. You have your sleep plan ready, you wrote it out, you know what it's gonna look like. You're like, okay, mentally I'm there, I know what I'm gonna do, I can see it sleeping, you know, like in 2 weeks from now, in a month from now. All I need you to do is just, again, stay consistent with it, stay positive, and stick with your plan. That's really it. Is stay consistent. Give your children a straight story. Don't start skipping things and changing things really quickly, because then you're really not going to see any type of achievement or progress whatsoever. Now, any questions that you guys have, because I know that I gave you a lot and I had to break up this video into two. So I don't know, I'm seeing that I'm getting new people on this one that weren't on the previous video, but if you were, I just did a whole recap on this one. And if you're new to this, thanks for joining on. So if you guys have any questions, let me know. Put it in the comments below on how does a sleep plan look like. I'm just gonna take another sip of my water. I'm so thirsty today. Hi, Maria. Okay, so no questions. Now, if you do come up with something and the video is ended, still feel free to type them in. Last thing that I want to let you know before I say sweet dreams to you is if you have thought about starting to sleep train, and that's why you're joining on to this video, or you have tried it and something kind of wasn't really clicking, I am inviting you guys to sign up to my free sleep series. I put the link on the post up on top, and it's a 4-day sleep series. I did videos for it, especially for you guys, and at the end you get something really special from me. I'm not going to tell you because I want you to sign up and check it out for yourselves. Okay, so sweet dreams, I love you, and I'll see you next Wednesday. Bye.